Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Tuesday. It's January 14th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and we just had one crazy day today. This was a very difficult day to trade, so if you struggle today, um, I wouldn't worry about it too much. This is probably about as hard a day as it gets, in my opinion, because it's a range day, but it's a very volatile range day, and there's no consistent lows, there's no consistent highs. Prices just suddenly switch gears and go 100 miles an hour in the other direction, then switch. So it's a very volatile, non-directional day with no rhyme or reason, really. I'm sure there's a reason that all of these moves happened, but there's no way to really read this properly. And actually, I shouldn't say properly. There's no way to read this consistently and know that you're reading it properly. So it's just a very difficult day. From the very start, it was kind of difficult because we had this what looked like a two-tiered, this darker blue, and then we kind of flattened out, and it definitely, you can't argue that this brown channel was not correct either. I actually drew this line off the lows and drug it up here, and it was fitting really well up here until here, and we never got a new low until here. You had to assume that maybe once we were going higher here, we were trying to fill this gap, which we shot right on through that. And then all of a sudden the bottom fell out again, and it just was not an easy day to trade. So there's trades in here. There's some reversal patterns and some double tests and things like that. But you just got to be really careful on a day like this. And generally, I like range type days, but I don't like days like today because there's no consistent highs and lows that makes it real easy to know when to short or when to go long or whatever. So there were a couple of trades here early that were fairly, consistent based on trend lines and things like that. But it wasn't even easy to find these trend lines today. Um, you need a little bit of experience. So some of you may not have even found these. But anyway, if you struggle today, I wouldn't worry too much about it because this was a very difficult trading day. So we'll back out here. We'll talk about what I do see, and there's several green ones in here, and but past that, there's just not much going on. So 7 o'clock came in this little jog right in here. I think we just made this lower high, but we were trending back up at that point. You really got three different trends going on here, and you don't know which one of them's trying to play out. It's really confusing even right here. But you do see that there's a double, actually there's a little bit of a triple test here. You made the low, then you double tested it, and you get a fairly bullish bar, and that is a second entry long, and you did have a trend line working up just now. So you may assume that we're going higher here. This trade would probably be worth taking. It gives you a chance to get in at the lows on a little bit of a trap, on a double test, on a second entry long. Of course, it runs back up here to the highs, and you get a little failed breakout. This one's real close to being green, but that's basically, notice that trend working up. You get a little two-legged, you get a correction, and you move to a new high, and then you would expect it to try to go down. Plus, we're looking at the possible blue trend line. It's not confirmed till here. And even the brown one I wasn't sure about until we got a couple more turn downs here. So this one really confirmed both of these. But the real key here is you had resistance here. You had the blue line possibly and the brown line possibly. So you had a lot of resistance converging right here. I call that confluence. And so, and this does look like a little range setting up right here. So that one looks pretty good. And then you got a lower high right here. The only problem with this one's real close to being green. The reason I like this one is because it does confirm both these other trend lines again, and it does confirm this resistance here again. But you had to be a little bit concerned about the resistance or the support down here. But we had just pushed through, so you could assume that we'd probably clean most of these buy stops out in here. And this thing actually breaks higher and turns and goes out the other side. I don't know if I would wait and go short right there. If you did, you probably couldn't get filled anyway. But when it turned out down right here, you might have gone short right there. And again, this is, you could argue for this to probably be green, but it is a lower high when we're looking for a turn down off either of these or both of these trends. And this could be the high for quite a while if these two trends play out, especially if the blue one plays out. So this is basically just a lower high, and it's a little bit of a trap too. Then you get a failed second entry long right here that comes back and tests. It's like a breakout pullback short as well. I marked it green. I'm not really crazy about this one. Just simply for the fact that you really didn't have a lot of information that this brown line was even here. So you might be looking for it to go lower. But the key is that you just really don't know what prices are doing here. We do still have a downward bias. It is a failed second entry long, and it is a breakout pullback to test this support area when you're looking for prices to possibly go long or go lower is what I meant to say, not long. And if you measured this first leg, if we're going to at least get a second leg, you're looking for prices down here to the midline of the bigger blue channel. So that's where you really would kind of be looking for prices to go at this point. And because you wouldn't really assume this line to be here yet. Even if you had had this upper trend line, you wouldn't really necessarily expect this to be right here just yet. You just don't have enough information, so you may even be looking for that to be down here or even down here. So it's still a little bit up in the air what's actually going on here at the moment. So so you're still looking for this prices to go down, and that's why I marked that one. I did mark it green. And then we're just kind of chopping. This is kind of a sideways action, but we're still making lower highs and lower lows down through here too, although it's kind of mixed. We have a higher high here. We have a higher low and a higher high, and then a lower low and a lower high. But it's still, you can see the EMA is still pointing down, and the bigger picture is still kind of bearish here. So you're just really kind of waiting on a setup. There is this second entry short right here. I did not mark this one, but looking back at it, it probably was a pretty good trade. I probably should have at least marked it green because it is a lower high. The problem was, or the reason I like this was because we just come off possibly off that blue trend line again, and it looks like it's the most valid trend of all of them, and this is a lower high. The only problem is we've been bouncing down through here a couple of times, and when we bounced here again, then you really had to be thinking, hey, we've probably got something else going on here as well. So and that's what really confirmed the upper trend line for me, is when you drug it down here and it's fitting so well. But that is a second entry short, lower high, and then you get another second entry short right here. And again, it's right off that blue trend line, and you're looking for prices to go lower here. So I marked it as well. And here we're just right off the brown midline, which you should have this line by now. It's pretty obvious there's something going on right here. You should have been able to find that one by now, but we just came off the low multiple times, and every time we've shot back through the midline a little bit, so I think it's too risky. You need to wait on a second entry at least, and you just don't get that. You end up bouncing here. And this one was tempting because we're back to the brown trend line, but we just went right on through that blue. And you do have a trend working up here. You have a break and a couple of legs up, but I think you ought to wait on a lower high. You just don't really get one here. We end up continuing higher. And I don't see any reason to go long yet, so you just kind of have to wait. You kind of have to wait this one out. And then, of course, we find this resistance here. You make this high, you test it once, you test it twice. You really could look at this as multiple tests of that high. It's not a very good signal bar, but at the same time, it's somewhat of a trap. And you could look at it like a failed second entry long. So, you may not care. It's fairly bullish or bearish as well. It's not a perfect signal bar. I prefer a better signal bar than that. But being that far away from the EMA when we hadn't been very far away from it at all, we're probably coming back to it. And it turns out we push on down, and of course we bounce. And I like this one just because you get a reversal pattern. Look how you push back through the EMA, try to go lower once, try to go lower twice, and it actually breaks lower and fails and goes out. You want to go long right there. You do need to be a little bit concerned about having room to get out before here. So you might think about that. So if you don't quite have room, you may let it break higher and drop a limit order in. You may have gotten left behind on that if you did, but then we're just finally pushing on through, and we pull back and test it from the other side. And this is a double bottom, so a new low. So a first entry, a second entry, you got two legs up there. It's a breakout pullback long. It's a failed second entry short. It's somewhat of a continuation pattern from breaking out of here and this possible trend line here. And this thing takes on off. And notice that you do have a new low here, and so you get another failed second entry short here, and it's a second entry long. We aren't quite filling that gap yet, which is what you had to assume was going on here. And so if you could get in there with enough room, you'd probably have to use a limit order to let it break higher and drop a limit order a tick or so back. And you may risk it anyway. Because the overnight highs are way on up there. As you can see, they're way up here at 32.90 something. And so, you know, they're 8 or 10 points higher. So, and you got to assume that's our first target. Runs on up. You don't really get a chance to sell this. The bottom just falls out, and then it runs right on back up again. But you do at least get a little bit of a reversal pattern here. It's not a perfect one, though. I did mark it green. Notice you're moving up. First entry short, you push up. Second entry short right here, and it breaks lower and fails and goes out the other side. Generally, that's going to trap some people, and so it's probably going to be good for a scalp. And we may retest this high. You don't know. I mean, it's just a crazy day. And so everything up here is, at this point, these reversals are really about all you've got. Then we get the same thing here again. You get another reversal. I didn't mark this one because I didn't really have a good trend line here or trend channel at all. I ended up drawing it like so. But I'm not. I mean, it looks like you get a break here or an overshoot here, and then you get the break and it turns back down. But that's another one you could argue to be green. But it's, there's nothing there that gives me a lot of confidence that, hey, we're going lower right there. So we come back and test it again, but again, we don't get a great signal bar. It looks like we're just kind of going sideways. So again, you could probably argue for that one to be green as well. The only thing you might have going for you here is you had this big leg down, and you may be looking for a measured leg, which gives us, and you can see that's about what we got when it bounced right here, but it did go a little lower than that before it turned up again. So, but once we started testing this over and over, I did not mark this one because we went a little lower here, and we may have been, I was concerned that we may get a failure out the top as well. So I'd wait on a lower high here, which didn't come to here, which I marked that when you still got room to get out. And this turned out to be a pretty good trade here. You come back here, just a first entry, but then you get a second entry short right here again off that same trend line. And that's also a nice bearish bar. So I like that one. It's right off that trend line. And then all of a sudden you get another reversal pattern. You do have your two legs plus a little bit here. And then you run up, first entry short, you push up again, second entry short, and it goes lower first and turns and goes out the other side. Looks pretty much like the other one I showed you over here. And off it goes again. And that turned out to be a really good trade as well, this one. So really late in the afternoon, the reversal type patterns tended to be the best setups. Otherwise, the other thing you can look for is just when you get so far away from the EMA on range days when you hadn't been away, like right here. But generally, you want to wait on that higher low because you don't know. Like right here, we're still a good bit away. And if you'd went long, you'd have got burned. So it's really hard to pick these bottoms. So you need some proof that prices are reversing. And you don't really get any good higher lows still way away from the EMA, and you don't really get any lower highs except for this one right here. This is a lower high right here. And this was a lower high, but you're already back to the EMA. So it's not like you're getting that value of prices being way away from the EMA. So there's another look at it. Crazy day, some crazy moves. Not an easy day to trade. So if this doesn't make any sense to you at all, you had to use really a lot more advanced type entries today, a lot of failures and double tests and things like that are not easy for newer or inexperienced price action traders to really understand yet. So I'm guessing a lot of you found this day difficult. And if you again, if you did, hopefully we don't have many days like this, because it's just, the market just really has no direction. That's the problem. It's like nobody knows whether to buy or sell, and they think they start jumping on, and then it just reverses, and then they start jumping on, and then it reverses. And generally what happens with amateurs is they start selling down here just as it reverses, and they start buying up here just as it reverses back to the downside. And so they just get chopped all to pieces. And really, you have to do just the opposite. You have to look to buy down in here, and you have to look to sell up in here, and you just didn't really get any of that today. So, I mean, it's turning in all different spots and locations, and so, yeah, it's probably my least favorite kind of day, and I'd assume most of you probably feel the same way if it, So don't beat yourself up if you struggled today or if you just didn't see anything that you liked. Because a lot of these are, like I said, really the only thing you get here is some reversal type patterns and some double test and things like that. And it's just not an easy day. So anyway, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to wrap it up. Hopefully tomorrow will be a little better than it was today. We'll be back again tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.